Hey, look at that. The College of Lake County 50-year anniversary, proud past, bold future. Welcome, everybody, to What's This Show For? FOR, Friends of Ron. I'm your host, Ron Levitsky. Ever wonder what makes a strong, vibrant community or town? Some people would say it's perhaps industry and business. Others might say it would be community organizations, such as a Rotary or Kiwanis. Others might say it's faith-based, churches, synagogues, mosques, so forth. But certainly a large component of that would be education. And one of the most overlooked and underappreciated aspects of education in a community is its community college. And we're very fortunate in Lake County to have a superb community college, CLC, College of Lake County, and we have a superb guest who represents the foundation, the College of Lake County Foundation, Mr. Kurt Peterson. Kurt, welcome to the show. It's just a joy to have you on. Thanks so much, and thanks so much for educating me about the wonderful asset we have that people may not really appreciate, but we'll appreciate more at the end of the show.
Well, thanks for having me on, and I'm very happy to count myself a friend of Ron.
Yeah, there are many. There are many, but we're delighted to add you to the list. We usually start off the show talking about the background of the guest. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, today is actually somewhat of an auspicious date for me. I started at the College of Lake County Foundation 1 year ago today.
Oh, congratulations.
So, thank you very much. So I've been with the College of Lake County Foundation for about a year. For about 6 years before that, I worked in the development office at Loyola University Chicago, downtown. And then prior to that, I was in the earlier part of my career, and the first half of my working life, I was a college history professor and worked at North Park University in Chicago.
And we have a connection because I was adjunct faculty at North Park for a few years as well. It's a wonderful, wonderful school. And before that, did you grow up in this area?
I'm from Massachusetts, the Boston area. My dad was with the phone company. So in those days, they said move, and you said okay. So we lived in Massachusetts and New Jersey, and I did the majority of my growing up actually in Oklahoma City. But have been here. I married a girl from Chicagoland, and we've been here for about 25 years.
Great.
Yeah.
So how did you go from academia to development?
Well, the strand that holds the whole thing together is sort of a lifetime vocational commitment to the transformative power of higher education. So I love ideas, I love communicating and teaching, but I discovered at about mid-career that I tell people I'm ridiculously extroverted. So for me, the change that I felt I was going to make in the world was going to be less about formal scholarship and more about relationship building and institution building. And in the second half of your career as an academic, you focused a little bit more on research and writing and publication and the work of your own guild. And I was finding myself really wanting to be more involved in building an organization. And so that's what I got into.
So when we both use the term development, how do you define it in terms of your career? What's development?
Yeah, depending upon, for a college or a university, you'll hear the term kind of interchanged, advancement and development. And so for the most part, they mean something roughly similar. They focus on raising the volunteer relationships and the funds, the resources necessary to drive the organization. No educational institution in this day and age can survive only on its government funding and its tuition dollars. There has to be supplemental resources to make the organization thrive. And for us, it's scholarships in development. For a lot of research institutions, it's the research dollars and things like that they raise.
And we'll be talking about scholarships a little bit later in our program.
Right.
So let's take a look, first of all, on the idea of a community college. When I was growing up, we called them junior colleges, and I wouldn't say it was pejorative, but it certainly did not have the respect it deserves.
Right.
So can you explain what a community college is and perhaps compare it or contrast it to a university?
Sure. So you're right. They used to refer to today's community colleges as junior colleges, which does carry with it not necessarily a pejorative, but a lesser than And the different way to think about that is not so much a greater or lesser than public role, but instead a different role. The community college, by definition, is funded primarily by the community in which it resides. So here in the College of Lake County, the bulk of our expenses are paid for with Lake County taxes. And so as a result of that, we exist as Lake County's educational institution. We provide associate's degrees, which are 2-year degrees in a number of fields, but we also provide a host of ways for the whole community to engage the college. So you can take courses just for personal enrichment. We do adult returning education. We have opportunities for people to complete their high school equivalency and prepare for school after that.
This is great stuff, and I want to pursue that. But let's talk on a little bit larger scale, because you told me some fascinating things when we had coffee the other day. One, for example, is you mentioned a book called Our Towns, which I looked it up. Mr. and Mrs. Fallows wrote it, and you said something very interesting about their view of the importance of a community college.
Yeah, Jim and Deborah Fallows in their book Our Towns had this idea. They concluded the book. They studied communities around the United States, post-industrial, to try to find what was the difference between larger towns and small cities that recovered financially and recovered in terms of their community engagement and those that didn't. And they concluded the book with what they called 10 and a half signs of a healthy community. And among those 10 was a community college. And essentially the argument they made was that almost every area of our common public life is driving the haves from the have-nots even further, concentrating wealth in the hands of the 1%. Save the institution of the community college, and that fundamental mission is to serve everyone in the community, especially those who in the times and in the past can be shut out of educational opportunities. So it's
really, I mean, with the way you're speaking very eloquently, it seems to be a crucial part of democracy that people don't really think about, the importance of educating everybody having that right to an education.
I think so. I mean, I think that today's community college lies at the heart, sort of in the crucible of democracy. It's where opportunity finds its most clear expression, where those can find access to the cutting-edge education, be it technological or preparation for a university degree, that will allow you to upskill and find work in your community, join the workforce or go on to a further education. So it's opportunity producing. We were able to pick our job titles. We had little name tags, and the name tag I chose for myself said Dream Maker, right? That we're in the process of making dreams and futures available to people. Yeah.
So, and you really, when we talk, contrasted that to universities, which tend to be selective, whereas community colleges, I'm inferring, are really more gathering, kind of a gathering of everybody, inclusive.
Right. Yeah, in his recent podcast, Malcolm Gladwell talked about the fact that there's been roughly 100, maybe a few more, gifts of 100 million or more made to institutions of higher education in America. And more than 80% of those gifts went to institutions with $1 billion or larger endowment, which means that the vast majority of our wealth is not only concentrated in fewer and fewer hands, but goes to more and more selective universities. So they grow their endowments, but they don't educate more people. Okay. Right? They just grow more competitive.
And I was also fascinated when we talked earlier, you connected the community college concept to what we might call the American story of immigration. And could you elaborate on that a bit? Because I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, so education is the very best pathway out of poverty and into the middle class in American life. And when we shared and talked a little bit last week, that's my parents' story. My grandfather immigrated from Sweden, did not have a college education, but getting his children educated was his key goal in life. And my dad went to college and became an engineer, became a manager in a large American corporation, and all three of me and my brother and my sister are educated, and it's that process of an education changes the trajectory, not just for the person pursuing the degree, but for an entire family line, and that's certainly, I think, in large measure been the American story.
So it impacts the individual, the family, and the larger community.
I think that's right.
Okay. Yeah. Well, let's turn to CLC. College
Okay.
of Lake County. And, happy one-year anniversary to you.
Thank you.
And happy 50th
That's
anniversary.
right.
And so let's start out because this program will be broadcast next month, the month of June.
Okay.
What are some activities, events that are coming up to celebrate CLC?
Yeah, so the College of Lake County started its classes in September of 1969, so we're coming up on the 50th anniversary. We're going to spend the year from commencement this coming May, in just a couple weeks, through May of 2020. It's going to be a year of 50th anniversary celebrations. So we will be reaching out to the community in a number of different ways, with printed materials and social media, to talk about activities throughout the year. So we will have activities on campus, so there will be opportunities to come and see open houses. We'll have one of those in the fall and in the spring. We'll have entertainment featuring a lot of our arts programming and performing arts among the students. We're going to start with a summer event, which is designed to bring the community in and have a picnic of sorts, and we'll publicize that. So we will be featuring our work and our campus that has just finished a $50 million beautification project in a new science building, so that the whole community can engage and see what we're up to throughout
Wonderful.
the year.
So let's sort of kind of break down CLC. Let's start out by talking about the geography. And I think you mentioned to me earlier that there are 3 campuses. I only think of one
Yeah.
major one, but there are 3.
Yeah, so Lake County has one community college, the College of Lake County, and then we say we have 4 campuses, right? So it's 3 that are physical and 1 online.
Okay.
Right? So our main campus that we started with was in Grays Lake in the central part of the county. We also have campuses in Vernon Hills and Waukegan. In Vernon Hills, we call it our South Lake campus, and in Waukegan, we call it the Lakeshore campus.
So for our viewers, being in Highland Park, Deerfield area, that Vernon Hills is not too far away.
No,
up
it's
Milwaukee
just down
Avenue,
the road
right?
on Milwaukee Avenue, yeah.
Around 60 or so.
Right at that intersection.
Yeah.
That's right.
So it's pretty convenient.
Mm-hmm.
And then the beautiful big campus in Grays Lake.
Right. That's the central campus.
And then you have
Yeah.
a nice one out in which you said I think that they've worked on a lot.
Yeah, well, the Lakeshore campus is actually, we're just completing the entire process of our drawings, and we'll break ground this fall for a brand new building right facing Sheridan Road in downtown Waukegan. And it will be planned to be a LEED certified building, so it has environmental sustainability as a key component. And it will house some of the existing programs, as well as a learning and testing center and a library. And we'll have meeting space that's used for community purposes as well. So that building should be online in early 2022. It'll be about a 2-year build.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Let's discuss next number of students who attend.
So the College of Lake County has roughly, these are rough numbers, I get an email every week that tells me the exact numbers, but roughly about 14,000 students, and between 8,000 and 9,000 what we call FTE, or full-time equivalent.
How does that compare to other community colleges? Do you know? Is it?
It's depending upon. I think we're sort of on the national average, we're on the larger side, but compared to the ones around us, in the suburban Chicago area, we're normally between 10 and 15,000 approximately students.
So people might think of Oakton Community College, the Harper, as well, and
COD out in DuPage. Yeah.
Okay, and this community college, the borders are contiguous with the county borders?
That's right. So community colleges, kind of like public school systems, have districts. And those districts are defined by geographical space, and ours is Lake County. Yeah.
And so there's a county board that administers or kind of runs it? Is that right? Like a school district would have it?
The College of Lake County is administered. The fiduciary responsibility is actually an elected board of trustees.
Okay.
So there's a board of 7 board members, and they are elected for multi-year terms, and they administer the organization.
Okay. And I think you also mentioned, it's interesting, that the population of the students, there are a lot of minorities.
Right. Yeah. So the makeup at the College of Lake County roughly mirrors the makeup of Lake County itself. So we are officially what they call an Hispanic serving institution. So a little over a third, almost 35% of our students are Latino or Latinx, as they say. A little less than 10% of our students are African American. What we would call Caucasian or European ancestry would be about 40% or so, and then about 10% would be others, Asian and mixed race and things like that. Yeah.
So that's quite a mix. Do you pursue minority students and try to help them get in, whereas maybe they don't have always the family background of higher education?
Yeah, I would say that we, as a community college, we try to make ourselves available to everyone. And some people know that we exist because higher education is part of the warp and woof of their family's life, and so they know to look for educational opportunities. We also have a strong commitment in working with school counselors and throughout our recruiting efforts to make sure that we are going into the communities that don't have as strong a tradition of higher education, to make sure they know we're available, what the resources are, and how they can fund their education.
The programming, I live in Lake County, so I receive brochures of fall schedule, and I was kind of blown away as I looked more carefully, because I think in terms of, well, there's academics, and maybe you can get certified for certain career paths, but then the technology is just amazing. So can you go over maybe some of the strands of the programs that CLC offers?
Yeah, maybe the best way to think about the College of Lake County is that we are one among multiple county organizations that are designed to improve the civic life of the county. And so our job is to train and develop and make employment possibilities for an ongoing workforce in Lake County. About 1/2 of our students, approximately, come to the College of Lake County with the intention of transferring on to a college or a university. So they will come and do their first 2 years, kind of a general education curriculum, and they'll have a major that really accounts to a handful of courses that can prepare them to, enter upper divisional coursework in a particular discipline. But then, full on half of our students are at the College of Lake County for another reason. So you can do an associate's degree in a highly technology field, like mechatronics or CNC manufacturing, work with robots and a whole series of things. You can study HVAC and work on an apprenticeship in welding. There's a whole series of professional, vocational degrees and opportunities that allow you to become employed. We have computer science and programming and web development. For a lot of those kinds of jobs, you don't need a 4-year degree to hit the ground running. So you can come and study for a certificate or do a degree or upskill with a couple of courses from your employer to sort of gain new skills to sort of climb the ladder of opportunity. So we exist to develop the workforce for Lake County so that Lake County can remain economically competitive throughout the state and the country and improve the lives of everyone living here.
Does community college work with businesses or corporations in Lake County?
We do, yeah. In fact, we do so in several ways. One, I think, important thing for people to know that are involved in the corporate life of Lake County is we have an organization as part of the College of Lake County called WPDI, the Workforce and Professional Development Institute, and they exist to have affordable contracts for training and development for corporate development all over the county. So if you need to upskill a group of people in your office because they're in a leadership cohort and becoming new executives, we can develop a leadership plan for them. If you would like to provide basic computer skills for someone who's coming up through the administrative ranks to do some computer training on Microsoft Word or other packages, you can do that. We also have a small business organization that helps small business people learn how to develop capital and do fundraising and manage with a small staff. Many of our curriculums, our individual departments, have what we call industrial advisory councils. So our laser and photonics program has a dozen members who work in that field around Lake County who speak into the curriculum and say, that course and that particular skill isn't what we need, but this is what we need, so let's shape the program to be able to provide what the county needs for workforce development. So we exist in significant opportunity for corporate engagement and partnership all over the county.
Can you name a few corporations who work with College of Lake County that people might recognize?
Absolutely. So in fact, most of the predictable ones that you might imagine, outside of our wall in our academic area, we actually have a corporate partner wall that mentions many different corporations that are involved in our internship program and that work with apprenticeships and who've given scholarship gifts to the foundation. I can think of a couple off the top of my head. We are long-term partners with First Midwest Bank. They've been with us from the very beginning, and they give very generously to our scholarship program and take interns. Last year, we opened up the Baxter Innovation Lab. We received a gift opportunity from Baxter that put together a maker's space with 3D printers and computer programming and a wood shop and all sorts of things for tinkerers that are inventors. We have a program in international supply chain management that was funded in a partnership with Grainger, where not only do we educate students in supply chain management in the curriculum in the business school, but we also have turned that into an online curriculum that they are using to train their own people right around the world in these topics. So
Wow.
There's multiple ways that we engage.
Terrific.
Yeah.
You also mentioned, well, I don't know if I call them special, but really interesting. Everything you talked about is interesting, but particularly to me interesting, the ability, for example, to study abroad or things you're doing with the environment. Can you perhaps touch upon those?
Yeah, I'll touch upon those briefly. The first thing is that this one, I have to admit, Ron, blew me away, is that you can come to the College of Lake County and you can study abroad. And not only can you study abroad, but you can study abroad for a semester in China. Students are just coming back in the next week or two from having spent a full semester abroad in China. You can study for a month-long program in Japan, in Peru, in Italy. They have a culinary program where essentially you go around Italy and eat for a month. Sounds pretty good. So there are, and we also have a fair number of international students who come and study at the College of Lake County to get their own American experience. So there's a growing international field. And the other idea, you asked me to touch on
the
that.
wetlands.
Oh yeah, and of course the College of Lake County, for those that don't know, is nationally known, has a strong reputation for environmental sustainability. The American Association of Sustainability in Higher Education ranks the College of Lake County as the 8th greenest community college campus in the United States.
Wow.
Our new science building that you see right when you come in off the Braylock entrance off of 45 has received platinum LEED certification status. And as I understand it, they got the highest LEED status certification score in the whole state of Illinois. We've sort of recovered a lot of our wetlands and are in many ways counseling and working with consulting with a lot of organizations on institutional, organizational, and architectural environmental sustainability. So it's a place to come and see in terms of the work that we're doing in that
Terrific.
area.
On the time we have left, let's turn to the foundation.
Right.
So your foundation is a 501c3.
That's right.
Okay. And the point is to raise funds for the benefit of College of Lake County.
That's right.
And when we talked, you mentioned you sort of put it in the shape of 3 buckets.
Right.
So let's go through that if we may.
Yeah, okay, so the College of Lake County is not quite as old as the organization, but just about 40 years. And we raise money for 3 things. We raise money for student scholarships. We raise money for program opportunities to sort of the classroom experience. And we also raise money for capital projects, buildings and other naming spaces. Our bread and butter and the key reason for our existence is scholarships. We exist to make higher education accessible to those who have oftentimes been shut out from it. And not only to make it accessible, but to allow students to have success. So access is step 1, to make it an opportunity for them. But success is the key. How do we provide not just tuition, but all of the wraparound academic supports that draw them to complete the degree and move on? As you may know, the Lake County is in some ways the tale of 2 counties. right? Some areas that are significantly thriving with pockets of genuine poverty. And it's in those communities that we seek to raise money to find hardworking students who are looking for opportunity to advance themselves. So we give somewhere between $750,000 and $1 million, $750,000 and $1 million a year back to the college, exclusively for student scholarships to make available for them to find educational opportunity.
Terrific.
Yeah.
Terrific. And you said, and also programs?
Yeah, so the what we talked about, for example, like the Baxter Innovation Lab or the International Supply Chain Management Program. We also have programs that train students in lasers and photonics. So Alliance Laser Specialties in Wakanda gave a very generous gift of a laser, right, a gigantic piece of equipment as a gift in kind that they were cycling out of their office to help train our students for work in that field. So we take gifts in kind for our various programs in the sciences and in technology to make things possible for them.
Great. And you mentioned, and the last point of the bucket was capital projects.
Right. So the one project with which people will become really, with which most people in Lake County are familiar, is the James Lumber Center. We raised several $1 million years ago before I ever came to the college, and that is our performance space for performing arts. And so the Lake Forest Symphony performs there, and there's a lot of camps and other performances. I think it's busy virtually every night. As well, the College of Lake County has, more than 20 groups, dance and music and performance groups that perform and practice in that space. We are also having the opportunity, as we move forward into the future, to think about other renovation opportunities. So in downtown Waukegan, we have buildings that we own as part of our downtown campus that need work. And we'd like to put things like mechatronics and HVAC programs and a small business incubator and technological innovation and things like that in those spaces. So we're in the middle of some conversations with both individual and corporate donors to renovate that actual physical space for community and economic renewal in that part of the county. So it's the scholarships, the program, and the capital that we do.
Wow.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that our audience gets to know that you can contact Kurt for more information. Unfortunately, our character generator is out today, but you can look up Kurt at KURT.Peterson, P as in Paul, ETERSON, at clcillinois.edu. It's Kurt with a K, Peterson with an O, Peterson, at clcillinois.edu.
Great.
What are some, you paint such a wonderful picture. It's just, I would like to get in that car and go over there right now. But any special problems, challenges that, I guess money's a big one for any institution,
Right.
but anything in particular? I think you mentioned something about travel.
Yeah, so our students, when we talk about, at least from the foundation side, on the training our future leaders, for many of us, right, for many families, the cost of books is just part of the doing business and going to college, right? But for many families, to get a $350 to $500 bill for the semester to buy their books is the difference between them going to college and not. In addition to that, we have child care needs for many families, young families. Transportation, we're not in the city. And the public bus system is only so regular and effective. And so how are people supposed to get to campus to actually do their work? So we oftentimes work with gas cards and things like that to provide transportation opportunities. Across the United States, about 1/2 of college students go without at least one meal a week. So nearly half of America's college students are food